Welcome to Inside the Upside Down. We're going to be talking about first paranormal experiences this evening. I'm author and ghost story Mike Ricksecker. Of course, those of you that are down there in the chat already know me pretty well, but we always get some guests on here. So if you are new, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. Click the little bell icon to get notifications, because we always have a lot going on here on the Haunted Road Media channel. Also, White Rabbit Notification Squad, do your thing and let the others know. Go ahead and share it out. Let them know that we are live. Because I guess I saw down there in chat during the last show, Tammy Heitzman did not get the notification, and it's a YouTube thing. You know, they don't send them out. They're supposed to, but from what I understand with YouTube, on top of the hour and on the half hour, they get really bogged down in their system getting all those notifications out, because everybody's doing things like posting at, on the top of the hour and a half hour. Understandable. So it doesn't always go out to everybody. So that's why we've created the White Rabbit Notification Squad, and Donna Gordon's heading that up. She can direct you to the group and then, of course, share it out. So, and speaking of sharing, I don't know if you guys have noticed, I'm going to just do a little housekeeping here at the very beginning, that we are suddenly up over 6,800 subscribers here on the Haunted Road Media YouTube channel, and it seems like we just hit 6,000. Well, we got a burst here over the past week. Admittedly, not really from the paranormal stuff, but from the Making a Murderer true crime video that I posted almost 2 weeks ago now. So that really took off. So we've gotten a rush here of new subscribers, and whether or not they're watching the paranormal stuff or not, that means we're almost up to 7,000. So if you guys want another giveaway, let's push it and get it there and get ourselves another giveaway. And you fine folk, of course, will get in on that, and we'll have more free stuff. So there you go. So there's that. Also, I did want to mention, I know I said last week, Bill Stillman's new book, William Stillman's new book, Conversations with Dogs. So it's a psychic medium's interaction with dogs, and going into a lot of different things about how dogs are empaths and things like this. A really, really interesting book. It's supposed to come out today. Got a little hung up in the process. Basically, Amazon flagged it because it's a second edition. His previous publisher is defunct, and so we were reprinting it for him, and so Amazon wanted, proof that everything's legit, so we sent that to him. And so it looks like tomorrow at the earliest. It did not come out today, unfortunately. I do apologize to William for that, but that will be coming out here in the next day. I'll say 2 at the most, and really, really looking forward to that. It's a very interesting book, and it's also very different from ones we've published before. So this one is full color, a lot of great photographs within it, very different format, but very cool. So it's almost like a big tabletop type book, so it'll be very interesting. So that will be out here, like I said, the next day or two. So Andrew says, Mike, you're doing something right. Okay, cool. Good. And yes, congratulations. Jojo B saying congratulations to William. So yeah, he's a great guy too, and we are going to have him back on. Just to let you know, we're going to have him back on July 31st, our very last show in July. And so we'll be talking about that particular book and all other things that William has going on. So he's been doing some gallery readings and things like that here of late. Great guy. We enjoyed him back in February, so it'll be great to have William back on in at the end of July. So it's very cool. Bonnie's saying, I saw him. Cool. So, all right. So let's go ahead and get into tonight's topic. So first, paranormal experiences. I don't want to just talk about my own. I want this to be interactive. I want you guys to also talk about your own as well. Kind of the same vein as we're taking from the Encounters with the Paranormal series, where people are sharing their paranormal experiences within that book to show others that they are not alone, that other people are also having these experiences. So I would like this particular episode of Inside the Upside Down to be along that same vein, so that when other people come along and watch it, that from my experiences, from your experiences that you share down there, you can be like, I've had that happen too. I'm not crazy after all. And that's been a big thing here with the Encounters with the Paranormal book series is, yeah, we're also helping a lot of historic locations through the sales of those books, which has been absolutely fantastic. But also for the readers, when they read about a number of these different stories, I mean, I've received emails, messages, IMs, what have you, from others saying, I read this book, this one particular story really resonated with me. It helped me realize that I'm not crazy after all. And, you know, they started becoming more open about the different things that they'd experienced. So that's what I would like for the direction of this to go. So, fungi, shadow person by any chance, Mike? Well, I mean, you know, we're going to talk about that, right? We are going to talk about the shadow person, of course, because that was, you know, really my first big main experience. But we'll talk about several things that happened when I was younger, and then you know, we'll talk about what you guys have going on. So just share it down there in chat, and then we'll go ahead and we'll talk about those things. Andrew Cox saying, I had multiple experiences at Mineral Springs Mall during the investigation. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Sean Oldsmith saying, when I was 8, my room had disembodied breathing and the cupboard door rattled. Interesting. I'll go ahead and ask Sean, you know, did you actually see anything? Was you know, like I saw the shadow person in my room. Did you happen to see anything like that, or was it just the sounds? Which is fine. You know, that happens as well, where you don't actually see a person. You're hearing all these different things going on. So that is definitely interesting. Disembodied breathing and cupboard door rattling. So, and that's always kind of a creepy one too. Are things like disembodied breathing. I know I've heard that before, not in that situation, but I've heard the disembodied breathing before. You know, kind of like come up right behind you. A lot of times during like an investigation or something like that. Bethany Warner saying, I used to have out-of-body experience in Fly with my mom after she died. I'm sorry. She would come every night. I believe she was still alive and too young to understand death. That happens with some people where they don't understand that they have passed, and they'll continue to visit thinking that they are actually still alive. You do actually have others that do know that they have passed. Like my grandfather visiting several of us, but my grandmother was also seen talking to him a number of times until she passed, and then, you know, haven't seen him since. But the out-of-body experiences is interesting, Bethany. So to, you know, go OBE, astral project, things like that, you know, adds a whole nother dimension into, you know, that experience. So, let's see. So Katie Palmer saying, seeing shadow people before what got me interested in the paranormal. And yeah, that's one of the big things for me as well. So Jojo B, I've had one with a shadow person in California. It zipped across my backyard. Joe Chandler, when I was 7 years old, my special needs cousin passed away, and she came to me to say goodbye before we even knew she had passed. And see, those experiences are really interesting as well, and very, very touching. I've heard from a number of people where a loved one came to visit them in the middle of the night. You know, a lot of times it's someone older, grandfather, grandmother, someone like that. Sometimes a mother or father, a special needs cousin. Sure, I could absolutely see that. And yeah, they know that they've passed, and they come and they say goodbye to a number of different people, and then they go off to wherever they go. So, you know, very, very touching moments, but, you know, it's also nice to get that goodbye as well. So so I hope that, you know, reaches a number of people where, you know, they've had that experience and they can say, yeah, that's happened to me too. So, because some people doubt, you know, whether, you know, they've seen what they've actually seen, you know, because of whatever reservations they have about the paranormal or what have you, that, you know, they don't want to admit what they've actually seen. So, but it happens. So those of you that have seen a loved one just after they passed, even though you didn't know that yet that they had passed, it's okay. It's all right. So, Andrew Cox saying, I've even heard my grandmother's voice late at night, months after she passed away in 2011. Yeah. So So Trisha Egley, I have never had a paranormal experience, but I believe in Florida, even though I've never been there. Nice. Well, yeah, that's true. Just because you haven't had a paranormal experience yet doesn't mean paranormal activity doesn't exist. I believe that. I believe that most people will have some sort of experience before their life ends. And there may be even things that have happened that you don't realize are a paranormal experience. But, if you're open to it, then it's certainly much more likely a possibility that it will happen to you. So, Zippy Davis dropping in. All right. So Bethany's saying, oh, you actually found her. Wow, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry about that. So Chipper Terry, 7-year-old, saw grandfather had just passed away 3 days prior. So yeah, kind of the same thing, where it's a loved one that's recently passed away, and then they come to visit and say goodbye. So, oh yeah, Candy Orton, at 3 years old, it began. Mine was a shadow movement, shadowy figures, shadow people, spirits, weird beings, and over time they came closer and closer and became very clear after a few years' time. So it's very interesting that you're able to remember back to 3 years old. I actually do have some memories back to 3. My possible first paranormal experience was maybe about 5 or 6 years old, and it was at my grandparents' house. So not quite back as far as 3. And I likened it to a blinking gorilla. I know. I don't know if it was paranormal or not because of how young I was. And it was, explained away to me so many times growing up. The funny thing was that I likened it to a blinking gorilla and came downstairs, told my grandfather that. And my father cracked up about my remark. But basically, I woke up. Actually, I don't think I woke up. I think I just hadn't fallen asleep yet. Because I was at my grandparents' house where I don't usually sleep at, and upstairs room, looking across to where the doorway is, and there was something standing in the doorway, kind of short, it was short, squat, and it was white, kind of translucent. It kept fading in and out, but kind of quickly, and so that's why I called it a blinking gorilla, because it was short, squat, and it was blinking. So still, I don't know if that was paranormal or not. Mine was the shadow person when I was about 7 or 8 years old. We'll get into that in just a moment. Betty Lange saying, Mike, my sister had a gorilla visit her. Similar. Interesting. Please give me more details about that. I would be interested in that since that happened at such a young age. And so there I am. I had used this as the pick. We always do a blue pick for Inside the Upside Down for, Stranger Things. The Upside Down's bluish. And so I am not yet 3 years old in this picture, and I can't say that I'm looking up at anything paranormal, but it was such a great pick to go with it because it looks like it could be, right? Like, oh my God, what's up there? I mean, but given that, okay, I'm eating food, my hand is obviously moving. It could be that I just, flung something up. I don't know. But this would have been like a couple years before that blinking gorilla incident. But that was in this house. This is my grandparents' house in Parma Heights, Ohio, which is actually still in the family. And it was at this house that later on, as a preteen, like 11 years old, that I created the story of what I called the Indian chief spirit in that house. So it was like a whole haunted house storyline that I created to, well, first I scared the neighbor kid, and then he and I joined up to scare my sister and my cousin. So, and if you can believe this, I was, at 11 years old, going into encyclopedias and looking up history to back the whole story, that I wanted it to be believable. So I'm looking for history that would have been there in Ohio. And the history that I pulled out wasn't quite in that area, but they weren't going to know. It was close enough. And I created this whole backstory and everything to go along with this Indian chief spirit that was supposed to be haunting the house. So, of course, that was all purely for fun. But so let me see what you guys are saying, and then we'll get into the shadow person story. So Andrea Artsy is saying, I had a gorilla experience as a kid. Interesting. So this is, I have to say, this is really interesting because Betty, Andrea, this is the first time I'm hearing of other people seeing a gorilla spirit. I mean, and that's what I likened it to. Again, 5 or 6 years old, that is what I likened it to. So I guess I would like to know, okay, so Betty, I guess you said it was your sister, Andrea. Did it look like, real gorilla, or was it just kind of that shape and size? Because again, mine was like across the room, kind of standing in the doorway. It was in the doorway a little bit, so it wasn't out in the hall. It was in the room, but right there by the door. And that was what I likened it to, just because of its size and shape. So Bethany Warner saying sleep paralysis is beyond scary until you realize what is happening. Yes, I agree with that as well. So we'll get into that a little bit when I get into my shadow person experience. So I have experienced real sleep paralysis, but not at the same time as seeing shadow people in having those type of experiences. So two different experiences to me. So when the medical community tries to put the two together, I won't say I get upset about that, but I don't agree with them on it. So Betty is saying she was scared the rest of her life of gorillas. Okay, interesting. I didn't really realize we were gonna get into so much about the gorillas. That's just really interesting. So Fungi saying the problem is that the paranormal thing only happens when there's one person in the room. So I guess I missed something a little above. So Fungi one time kept hearing whispering and looked all over the place looking for the source, like a radio or something, but couldn't pinpoint where it was coming from. Later, a coworker from the same shift said she had experiences too. Turns out at least 2 people died in the office of heart attacks. This was in New Jersey. The other problem is that the paranormal thing only happens when there's only one person in the room. So it could be that whatever entity is there, whatever spirit is there, only feels comfortable making themselves known, making their presence known when there's only one other person. Remember, they're still people, so they're going to have a certain comfort level in different situations, and it may be that you get more than one person in the room and it's just too much for them and they back off and they remain quiet, but you get one other person in the room, like, okay, I can approach this one person. So yeah, so let's see. Scroll down here a little bit, and it just blew right by me. So, yeah, so not 2 people could verify their existence. And yes, that was Baby Mike. All right. So Jojo B. Benny was an older gentleman that was a good friend of the family, but he passed away in my house years before it became mine, and he would poke me in the back. People would describe him to me. So interesting. So people actually knew this guy, and you ended up in the house, and so you've been able to talk to people that actually knew him. So, and Shauna had that experience with somebody who knew Captain Minky from the Goldenrod Showboat, and she played an EVP for her. Didn't tell her who she thought it was, and she ended up saying back, she ended up a historian for the Goldenrod Showboat, and she was like, how did you get a recording of Bill? And Shauna was like, this is an EVP. We got this from the investigation the other night, but it wasn't actually Captain Minky's voice. So Kathy Ciliento, when I was a kid, about 10, my experiences started with precognitive dreams. Interesting. So, yeah, I've had a lot of dreams come true. I have like zero control over it, and it comes and goes. Happens every once in a while. Sometimes it's an event that happens immediately after, and sometimes it's years. So I just, when I have a dream like that, I take note of it, kind of file it away. I never know when it's going to happen. So Kathy, that's interesting. see BD Flint referencing Hans Holzer down here. So we'll talk about Hans here in a little bit because he was an influence of mine. So Victoria, I don't think it's always sleep paralysis. Neither do I. And Bonnie's saying, Betty, you should write it up for Mike's Encounters book, per Donna. Yeah, I mean, we're always taking submissions for the Encounters book. That's still open until July 31st. So, Andrew's saying he's never seen a gorilla spirit. Yeah, it's... and Linz, that's a good question. Gorilla or Bigfoot? So mine was certainly a... Again, I can't say if it was certainly a spirit or some sort. If it was what I thought it was, then yes, it would have been a spirit. White, translucent, that sort of thing. Certainly not solid and certainly not like brown or black or anything like that. It was, you know, short, squat, white, kind of translucent, blinking in and out. So Betty's saying, my sister said her gorilla dreams told her something was going to happen, big and threatening. Interesting. Andrea's saying, my memory of it is that it looked like a real gorilla. It was at the top of a long set of stairs. Interesting. Okay. Well, that's all really interesting. I've never had anybody... This is the first time ever. I'm almost 44. I'm going to be 44 here in a couple of weeks. First time ever that I've had somebody backing me up on the whole blinking gorilla thing. This is really interesting. Okay. I'll have to tell my father about this. He's just going to shake his head because he doesn't believe in any of this stuff. Even though he's had a shadow person experience, he doesn't recognize it. So I've tried to tell him that, Dad, that was an experience. Like, oh, no. So Andrew, science will never be able to disprove our paranormal experience. Not disprove, but it may be able to prove at some point, which would be absolutely fantastic. Carrie Parrish, gorilla is a new one for me too. Yeah, we're talking gorilla spirits of some sort. So Jojo B is following up on Benny. My friends would tell me about his clothes and glasses. It blew me away. He would play with my doorknobs and lights. Interesting. Bethany Warner, this is from the, I guess it's from the sleep paralysis. I shake when I wake up from the inside out. Then I have visions that tend to come true. I do not remember dreaming of what to come, of what come to intuition. So, yeah, my sleep paralysis experiences, I've had two of them, both in very compromising positions. I didn't have any visions or anything like that going on. I know some people do. My whole issue with that comes when the medical community tries to discredit people's shadow person experiences because they say that, well, you know, we're in this state between dreaming and awake, and so what you're seeing is the hallucinogenic effect of your dream state. Problem I have with that is the fact that if that is true, if that is the case, then why is it always a person that we see? It might be just a straight humanoid person, might be a person with a hat. Sometimes it's an old hag sitting on the chest, you know, different variations. Maybe a hooded figure, but it's still a person nonetheless. We dream about all kinds of things, you know, and I've said it before in other videos. We dream about all kinds of different things. You know, there might be, you know, trees in our dream. There might be cars in our dream. You know, I might be water skiing in the dream. I've said before, you know, I've had dreams of, you know, being on stage with Motley Crue. So where are the trees? Where's the water? Where's the speedboat? Where's the cars? Where's the airplane? Where's the crowd? Where's the drum kit? Where's all this other stuff that could possibly be from my dream in my room when I wake up? And I see this shadow person. Where's everything else that was in my dream? Or why isn't it one of those things and not the person, you know? So I have a problem with that. So, and just for those that may be a little bit new and aren't familiar with the story, let me show you. So this is a illustration by Adam Tillery, a fantastic artist and illustrator. He has a book through Haunted Road Media called Mischievous. He's also done a number of illustrations for our Encounters with the Paranormal series, as well as Katie Hopkins' book, Seeing Spirits, and Kat Gash's book, My Life Amidst the Paranormal. So this is very close to what I saw. It was in the corner of my bedroom when I saw it. And then it came up to me. Didn't see any features. Adam kind of has a little face drawn in there. That's probably like the one difference here, because it was just featureless on the face. Just black. And it did the strangest thing. It leaned over my bed, crossed my arms across my body. Like basically, it grabbed my arms, crossed them across my body, and then ran off down the hall. Of course, I got up screaming to my parents. I couldn't scream during that time. I had opened my mouth. Nothing would come out. I was a kid. I was 7 or 8 years old, terrified, or 8 or 9 years old. Terrified. I'm thinking there's an intruder in the house. I'm at that age, I have no idea, shadow person. I'm thinking intruder. Open my mouth, nothing comes out. And then after I ran off down the hall, finally found my voice, ran screaming to my parents' room. They tried to console me, said I just had a bad dream, like any good parent would do. And of course, the issue that I have with this when it comes to, sleep paralysis and all that stuff, second issue, is I was able to move. So, arms crossing across the body, my mouth opened up. I turned my head to watch it run down the hall. So I'm moving. I'm not paralyzed. So that's a couple of issues that I have with the medical community. But that was like my first real bit, blinking gorillas aside, that was my first real big paranormal experience that let me know that there's something else going on here. Wasn't sure what it was. Just knew that I was terrified to death, and there was something from the other side. Could get into the whole "are shadow people evil" thing. I'm sure somebody will ask that at one point. No, not all shadow people are evil. I don't even know if that one was. I mean, it did something weird to me and ran off. But I've had other experiences where it seems like I have frightened them, some that have just been curious, that sort of thing. I think they're kind of like people, just on another plane of existence. And so there's some good ones and there's some bad ones. So let's see what you guys have to say here. Bethany Warner, I got that one before. So, Dawn Spooky Spectacular. My first experience was evil spiders. My first full body apparition was Mrs. Whaley at the Whaley house at age 11. So, and Dawn is referencing actually 2 stories for the Encounters series. So, the evil spiders you can find in Encounters with the Paranormal Volume 3. That's our Mineral Springs Hotel edition. And then her Whaley house experience is coming up for number 4, which is out this fall. So, interesting. And I just blew by a lot of stuff. The scrolling is kind of not intuitive all the time. So Donna Gordon, as a kid, when under a lot of stress, I could have night terrors and have where I'd be aware I was dreaming and trying to force myself awake and couldn't scream. Not sure if it would be considered sleep paralysis or not. Yeah, I mean, night terrors. Night terrors are legit. I mean, any of this stuff like sleep paralysis, night terrors, all that, there are legitimate medical cases for all of those. I'm not discrediting them completely. Like I said, I've had real sleep paralysis. People do really get night terrors, but I believe there are a lot of cases in which these things are real. I did really see a shadow person in my room, and I know other people have too. Some things that people are experiencing when they have night terrors are really happening. So I guess that's in some cases where it becomes a little bit hard to discern what's what, and that's why I think it's really good that we have a forum and we have some sort of format where we're talking to each other about it, because and the kind of one of the reasons for this video where people have had these experiences where they've had, saw a shadow person, had sleep paralysis, had these night terrors. Is what I'm experiencing real? Are there other people out there that have had these same experiences of me? And yes, it's true. There are other people that have had these experiences, and I think it just takes people coming together and talking about it and figuring out what these things are that we can all help each other and acknowledge the things that are happening. And sometimes Sometimes it wasn't paranormal. Like I said, the whole blinking gorilla thing might not be paranormal. You know, I don't think it was headlights. You know, sleeping in my room as a kid, I always knew what headlights looked like coming across, the room. And, even at my grandparents' house, even though I didn't, sleep there all the time, I still had an idea of what headlights looked like. And I was on the second floor anyway, so it's not like the headlights really came in that well. Just kind of like, briefly, lightly, I guess. It's kind of the way I say it. So who knows? It might not have been. There might have been a legitimate explanation for it. Or not. But that's why we talk about these things. So Tom McNicholas with a $10 super chat. Thank you very much, Tom McNicholas, super chat superstar. All right. So, Andrea, have you ever looked into DMT psychedelic experiences and the idea that is our way of getting in touch with another form of reality or a spirit world? So I know that there's a lot of people now that are experiencing that are testing out those different things to try to enhance DMT. I don't personally. I try to. I just try to be careful what I put into my own body. So, some people have been trying that. There's a number of videos out there right now talking about psychedelics and trying to enhance DMT through use of those. I'm personally not going to. So I think I experience enough right now, and I'm still going down that road on my own. And as I continue to get more and more involved with the paranormal, that seems to be opening up a lot more for me. So where, previously I would say, well, I got a little something going on, but I don't want to claim to be anything. I will, because Shauna's kind of made me do it. I will say that, yeah, I'm sensitive to some degree, and you can see some of the other videos out there in the Haunted Road Media channel where I'm having these experiences. It's a couple, not a lot, of having, like the fairy plantation, where I was just so in tune to what was going on with that room. It was popping in my head, everything that, all the answers to the questions, and just knowing exactly what her problem was in that room. Fungi making out with Bill Clinton in a dream while Hillary is looking for him. Yeah, let's not, I don't even want to think about that. See what else you guys, I know you've had a lot here. You guys have had a good conversation going on. So, Spooky Dawn is saying, I seen something a few weeks ago I've never seen in my yard in a storm. It wasn't an animal. It wasn't anything I've ever seen. It came up from the earth. Interesting. It's like an earth elemental, maybe? Oh, black dog. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's why you were asking about the black dog. I think it was last time you were asking about that. Oh, no. You were asking about the black dog for our Patreon Q&A. So that was just posted last night. Our June Patreon Q&A posted for July. And so Dawn was asking about black dog spirits. So for those that are out there on Patreon, most of you are able to get to that. So, yeah, Betty Langus, family dreams. My family all have had similar dreams of a house. Interesting. Shay Carroll saying, the shadow person I encountered had no features. After watching me, it charged at me, went right through me, or disappeared when it got to me. I screamed, and the scream woke everyone up in the house. So, okay, that's interesting. So it went through you. So it had no physical mass to it at all. Interesting. Because like with mine, it picked up my arms, so I could kind of feel that, like it had something to it. But you're saying yours just blew right through you. Excuse me. So that's interesting. It is interesting how a lot of people have these different, experiences. Like they've seen something similar. Okay, we've seen shadow people, humanoid figure or what have you, no face, but its interaction with you was different than mine. That's interesting. Okay. B3 airspace, back neighbor girl down the way. Her car stopped in front of the road. And it just blew right by. Oh, why does that happen sometimes? Yeah, there's okay, and I see Tom McNicholas super chat finally. If everyone turned in their stories, your next book would be bigger than War and Peace. True enough, because everybody has a lot of great stories here. All right, so I missed what B3 airspace was saying because it blew right by. Okay, neighbor's girl down the way. Her car stopped out in the middle of the road. We got the car, jumped. Now she's on her way home. Oh, okay. You're saying what happened? I'm sorry. It wasn't a paranormal experience. Sorry. All right. So Fungi asking Shay, are you sure the shadow being is not in you right now? Good question. So Andrew Cox has seen black dog spirits along the side of the road. Interesting. So, yeah, I would be interested to hear what B3 Airspace's first paranormal experiences were. She's had many of them. She was 5 years old. So, Candy, no, you have not missed the deadline for the Encounters book. July 31st is the date that I've set. So, Donna's saying that she knows the black dog lore, but this doesn't feel like a black dog lore. And no, not from your description. It seems a little different. And so, if you guys watch that Patreon video, because both of you are in there, you can see what Shauna and I had to say about that. So Shauna, I just want to throw this out there. So this is kind of interesting with Shauna, and I know she's not here to talk about it. But her first paranormal experience happened when she was an adult. I know it seems a little bit hard to believe because it seems like she's had these experiences for years. She has a ton of stories. She's definitely sensitive. She's an empath, but she didn't have her first experience until I'll say it was 15 years ago, something like that, as an adult. And it was at a house that she was living at in Alton, Illinois, and it was a little girl spirit. There was a little girl spirit that was in this particular house, and so Shauna interacted with her a lot. And ever since then, Shauna has just been like completely open to the paranormal and supernatural world. And so I find this as a first paranormal experience, very interesting that, even as an adult, if you've been completely closed off to it before, that one instance of interacting with something paranormal just can completely open you up. So for those that are like, well, I've never had a paranormal experience and it's not going to happen to me, and what have you, that it still can. I know that there's people out there that are looking for their first paranormal experience, and I just haven't been able to have one. I don't know. It's that whole moment right there with her, I guess gives me a little bit of hope that, anybody, even if it happened to my father. Actually, I mean, my father does say that he had something happen and he disregards it. So it's like, okay. I'll say my sister. That even if it happened to my sister, you're talking about somebody who doesn't believe. Oh my God. And she's like one of those, I mean, almost that, I think we were talking about it the other day. Abraham Lincoln come up, walk right into her face, say, "Hi, I'm Abe Lincoln. I'm a ghost," and she wouldn't believe it. But I think actually, if something like that, something like that could still happen to her, and then just like be open to the paranormal. So, just given that moment of what's happened to Shauna, because I had already up to that point, because I think that happened to her in 2004. Considering when I had my first paranormal experiences, I'd already been having that stuff going on for 25 years, something like that, at that point in time. And, so I was open to it. I'd had experiences. But the stuff that she has seen and she's picked up on, and being an empath, and, she's seen spirits, she's seen a lot more apparitions than I have in a much shorter period of time than I've been experiencing these things. So, very interesting. So if you're looking to experience it or have your first paranormal experience, don't be disheartened. All right. So B3 Aerospace saying, okay, this one she was 5, I believe she said. Covers being pulled off me. Lady was standing in front of me, pointing to the kitchen. I followed. She let us know about the faulty switch in the old oven. Oh, interesting. So somebody trying to let you know that there's something wrong with the house. And I like that. I like stories like that where, you know, there's a spirit that's hanging around, knowing that something's wrong over here and is going to help you out. I like those stories. Yeah. So, Sean Gilmore, my first experience was a man in a wheelchair rolled into my sister's room. Oh, that's interesting. You know, just boom, here's a guy rolling into the room. What else you guys have? So B3 Airspace, my hubby dreams of wolves surrounding him and pointed outward, protecting him from something. Okay, so he has wolf protector spirits. Interesting. Okay. Vanessa has that with wolves. So, let's see. Haunting history. I'm always late for these. Well, it's same time every week. I don't know. So, Bonnie Sarah's watching another Upside Down at the same time. Well, yeah, because we do have that little bit of lag time in between. So if you get into something else, I get that. But yes, welcome Haunting History. What else am I missing here? So, all right. So Donna, interesting idea. Does experiencing a paranormal experience at a young age open us up to more for the rest of our lives? Well, I mean, I've never closed myself off to it. You know, I've experienced it at a young age. I think it certainly helps. There are other people that have had an experience at a young age and then have made attempts to keep themselves completely closed off to it. And a lot of times, you know, because of parents, religion, what have you. And so then they don't want to believe it because they have this upbringing that tells them that no, it's not real, or it's from the devil, or, you know, all this stuff. So they close themselves off to it. Some people will, you know, that are really in tune to it all, that they're trying to close themselves off to it or keep themselves closed off to it, and they know it's there, but it's so overpowering that it interferes with their life too much. There's times where Vanessa will tell me about instances where it's hard to keep them quiet, you know, and they're always coming into her life, and she's having a hard time keeping them quiet. So she's one that will say, be careful what you wish for, you know, for those that are saying, oh, I'd love to be psychic, or, you know, things like that. You know, I'd love to, you know, have these abilities to channel, or if Vanessa's like, yeah, be careful what you wish for. There's a lot of things that she sees and experiences that she wished she hadn't ever seen or experienced. So be careful. So, and there's a $10 super chat from Kathy Ciliento. Thank you very much, Kathy. We sincerely appreciate that. Absolutely. So what was this? Just email Haunted Road Media. What's the question? Oh, Mike, can you give where submit stories for the book? Yeah, so that would be, you just email haunted@hauntedroadmedia.com. That's it. I mean, you could try to message me over Facebook or what have you as well. That always works. But yeah, if you just want to send an email with the story, haunted@hauntedroadmedia.com. So, all right. And that was from, from Imani Abdullah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Lynn's was saying, yeah, tweet Mike Ricksecker at Mike Ricksecker. Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways to get a hold of me. I've tried to make myself as accessible as possible. And so Kathy's saying, thank you, Mike, for keeping all you share on the up and up. Yeah, I think that you have to be honest about all this stuff. You know, there's so many people that have had experiences that they're not sure what they've experienced, so they might be afraid. You know, what's happened to them might scare them. They might have shared with somebody in their life about what happened to them, and now that person doesn't believe in this stuff. thinks that they're crazy. They might have family or church or whomever kind of ostracize them, so they become, scared or isolated or what have you. And, we want to be truthful about this because we want to tell people, okay, these are experiences that we've had. These are legit experiences. If you've had that too, obviously come talk to us, because, if you need some help, we could help you. If there's, some questions that you have, we might be able to answer those questions. We're all in this together. So, yeah, Dawn, what's scary is when you can see spirits and you go to nightclubs. Instead of hanging out in nightclubs, spirit-wise, is damn creepy. I imagine it probably could be. Yeah. So, a couple other things I want to talk about with first paranormal experiences, and keep your first paranormal experiences coming in. So, and Carrie saying, I was lucky to have my granny teach me and guide me. Yeah, it's always great when you have somebody that's close to you to help you out. A lot of times, a lot of people don't have that in their lives. So sometimes you have to find a community like ours in order to do that. And that was really helpful for me when mid 90s, when finally the World Wide Web was starting to take off, and there were forums and bulletin boards, and it's like, I know there was stuff earlier than the mid 90s, but the mid 90s when it really started to take off. I always have to throw that out there because there's always somebody in the comment section that always says, well, yeah, I know the internet first existed in the 1960s. I get it, in isolated, I get it. So that's when people really started becoming connected. That's when those forums really started being built, and those communities are really starting to be formed. You could find, like Yahoo groups are created, or somebody's website, would have like the old school forums. There used to be bulletin board systems you could dial into and stuff like that. And so people started sharing, and that's when I was finally finding a community to be able to share my experiences with. That, different things about the shadow person experience that I had. There were different, time travel questions that I had because of different things I'd seen in my, or things in my dreams that I was seeing. So that's what helped me. And so, this day and age, we have a format like this with YouTube. Of course, we have the Facebook group, and so we have this whole thing that we now call social media. So a little bit different than back then. So, yeah, Sean Gilmore. I never had anyone to help me. I had to go out and find the answers on my own. Yeah, and unfortunately, that's where a lot of people feel stuck like that, where it's like, who do I go to? A lot of people are feeling like they're alone and on their own, and so that's really the point of this particular Inside Upside Down, or Inside the Upside Down, and that's one of the big points of the Encounters with the Paranormal books, is to have something to reach out to those people to say, we're here for you. You're out there. We know you're out there. We're here for you. So, yeah. So one of these days, Lori or David is going to watch one of these videos. And I know Lori's been on Facebook and watching some of the stuff out there. She doesn't have her name as Lori on Facebook. She has it as a different name. But I know she watches some of the stuff. She hasn't said anything yet. And I haven't talked to David in years. He used to be on Facebook. I don't know if he still is. But those two, my first paranormal investigation. So that one, and I know a lot of you in the chat here have heard the story, but I'm going to put it out there for those that are new, and for those that watch the video later that might be new. Had no idea what I was doing. I was about 15 years old, and I've been saying for a while that it was my sophomore year of high school, but I've been thinking about it. It might have actually been my freshman year. It may have been. It's kind of irrelevant. So it was high school, right? And we're at Lori's house, David and I, just, basically shooting the shit and talking about all kinds of stuff, a lot of school drama, what have you. And finally, Lori says, I think my bedroom's haunted. David and I are like, what? Of course, I'm immediately intrigued because I've been, I've had experiences. I had not only that shadow person experience, and my room as a kid, but I had one when I moved from Massachusetts to Ohio. And then, I'd been reading the Amityville Horror, so I was very interested in all that. And all of a sudden she says, I think my room's haunted. Okay, well, why is that? Immediately I'm like up in my seat. Okay, what's going on? So she tells us that every time that she puts something up on this one wall of hers, doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a poster, picture, whatever, she puts it up on the wall, and at some point it falls off. It doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter when she puts it up there, how she puts it up. It comes crashing down at some point. Sometimes it's sooner rather than later, whatever. So, okay, we're going to go up there and we're going to check this out because, we're 15 years old. We got this. So we go up to her room and, we're checking out the wall, looking around her room, tacking stuff up on the wall. I didn't know this about David at the time. I found out a lot of things about him later on. But he was sensitive, like very sensitive. He put his hand, I just banged that and go with the other hand. He put his hand to the wall, just flat right on the wall. And all of a sudden he turned this bright, bright red and started sweating profusely. I mean, just like crazy, like rivers of sweat. I mean, and I'm not kidding. It was like bright red sweat. Like, what the hell just happened to him? And he was shaking, because of it. I'm standing there. He's to my left, and I'm looking at him like, what the hell is going on? And it was crazy. So, he kind of explained to us what he felt. I was like, wow, okay. And he started going to all these different rooms up there throughout the house and trying to see if there are other hot spots. We knew something was definitely going on with that wall, and I'm just sitting there looking at this wall like, oh my God. It's like I'd had these other experiences when I was younger, when I was little. Blinking gorilla, shadow person in my room. Yeah, I've seen that. The shadow person peeking around the doorway when we first moved back to Ohio. It's like some of the you could explain away that, blinking gorilla was a dream or headlights. Shadow person in my room was a dream. You could explain all that away. Shadow person peeking around the door when we moved in, I was like, my mom backed that one up. So when I saw this happen, I was like, this shit's really real. This shit is really real. And I was absolutely fascinated by it. And so I knew that it was going to be something I was going to be involved with for the rest of my life. To some degree, I wanted to. It's like I didn't have what David had. I knew I didn't have what he had. But I could research. Now, I didn't know you called it, paranormal investigation or ghost hunting or whatever at the time. I've been reading some Hans Holzer. So I guess I had heard the term, but it didn't click. The stuff with Hans Holzer that I read, of his stuff when I was like 13 years old, it didn't really click until like a few years later when I saw The Sixth Sense. But yeah, that was the first paranormal investigation that really was like eye-opener, like, holy shit. This is something I'm completely wide awake. It's not a shadow of anything. This really freaking seriously happened to him. So, yeah, legit, absolutely legit. So let's see what you guys are saying down here, because I still would want to hear more first paranormal experiences as we go along, to share with those that are tuning in. They've had some experiences that they're unsure about. That are going to watch this show afterward. So what else do you guys have? Let's see, Spooky saying, Sean, it wasn't until a few years ago here. I didn't even talk about any of this. I finally told my husband and son, and now they think I'm nuts. Well, and that's the sad thing, is that you have people in your life that you love, and they think, you're crazy for it. And you're not. And that's one of the reasons why we need to foster this community and foster it within truth. Be truthful about these different things that you've experienced. Don't just make something up to sound cool. There's other people that have had experiences that we need to be able to share about this stuff, because there's other people in our lives that either haven't had those experiences, so can't relate, or they've had experiences and don't want to acknowledge it, so they stay away. And within my family, there are people that believe in the stuff, and there's people that don't. My mom believes in some of the stuff, but not all. So like, and she likes the ghost story books. Like she has books on Ghosts of Williamsburg, and she likes my books. She's the one that bought me the Hans Holzer book. So she believes. My dad, my sister, no. And throughout the whole rest of the extended family, there's some people that do and some people that don't. So it's tough when those that you love don't. So that's why you have this family. This is your paranormal family. So Spooky's mom was Hungarian Catholic hardcore. Comment on that, because I grew up Catholic. Both my parents are Catholic. And in fact, my mother is half Hungarian, so I'm a quarter Hungarian. The other half is Polish, so I'm half Polish, half Hungarian. On my dad's side, mostly German with some Swiss and Scottish thrown in there. In fact, Ricksecker is actually Swiss, but from the German side of Switzerland. We don't have to get into all that, but the Catholic part of it all. So I have on my mother's side an aunt she's a nun. At one point, she was the mother superior of her convent, and she's not anymore, just because she's gotten elderly, and the rigors, she can't do it anymore. But basically, she was the top chica at one point at the convent, and this is Monastery of the Poor Clares here in Rocky River, Ohio. So people can figure it out if they really wanted to. But a few years ago, it's been the first time I'd been back to the convent in years. There's only a couple times, because she's a sequestered nun. Or a cloistered nun, I'm sorry. Sequestered. She's a cloistered nun. So there's only a couple times per year that you can go see her. And so, because I had been away for so long, not here in Ohio, I hadn't seen her in years. Since my kids were like very, very little. And I was not so involved with the paranormal at that point. I mean, I had been off and on, for the last decades, but not so much back then. So I didn't have the books out and all that back then. So now I show up. I have all these books now. And I wasn't saying anything about it, just kind of visiting family and all this stuff. And one of my aunts mentioned, oh, hey, Mike has all these ghost books. I'm like, oh, I don't want to hear this from the nun. But she was absolutely intrigued. She was fascinated. She's like, I love hearing about haunted houses. I love hearing about ghosts. She just said she's absolutely fascinated by the subject and wants to learn more. Cool. Okay. I was really, really surprised by that. So, zero judgment whatsoever, and she was actually intrigued about it. So, Sean Gilmore back there had to search for other people. Once I got to the paranormal myths of my friends, quote-unquote friends, stopped talking to me, which is unfortunate. If you had, some good friends that just did that to you, they stopped talking to you because you got into the paranormal stuff, that's sad. That's too bad. I'm sorry there, buddy. But, hey, we're friends. So I got you. Now, Gordon got to a certain point of loud and proud, believe me or don't, back me or not. If not, that's okay. Very few people's opinion matters to me now. Yeah, it's funny, especially as you get older. When you get older, you just don't give a fuck. Just whatever, and yeah, I mean, when you're younger, and some people, I gotta hand it to some people. Some people just the entire freaking time never cared. Never gave a rip what other people thought. I I was always emotionally sensitive growing up. So when I was younger, I never understood why. Okay, why doesn't this person want to be my friend? We're doing this, we're doing that. Why? I was always an emotionally sensitive kid. So when somebody didn't want to be my friend or whatever, it was like, I don't understand why. And it didn't ever dawn on me not to give a rip about it, because there's all these other people over here that could be my friend, and there were a lot of other people that were. It just always, it would bother me. I don't understand what I do wrong. It didn't dawn on me back then. It wasn't me. It's something wrong with them. It took me a while to figure that out. And so, yeah, basically now as you get older, and that's like even further in the past, it's, yeah, I don't care. So, so let's see what else you guys got. I know it's actually getting to our hour mark. In fact, I think it has hit our hour. So Betty's saying, my mom was quote unquote crazy like me, raised me on ghost stories, superstitions, old time ways. Loved her. Sounds like a wonderful woman. Yeah, see, another thing about my mom, and it's something about, I always have fond memories of my childhood. In fact, I'm going back to, on the way out to Ocean State Paracon this weekend, I'm actually going through my old hometown out there in Massachusetts. Spent 10 years out there in my very formative years, from 3 until I was 13. And my mom, for some years, would watch the neighborhood kids, until we ended up, like full-time in school. And then she, went out and, got back into the workforce. She was watching a lot of us kids in the neighborhood. And when there would be a storm coming through and there's a power outage, I loved it. Some of the other kids were like, oh my God, the power's out. It's like, yeah, this is where it gets cool. Busts out the candles, the stories come out. There's some ghost stories mixed in there. And I love that. It's raining outside. It's a little bit dark. The candles are on, and mom's telling ghost stories. I loved it. So let's see. So B3 Airspace. Grew up in a strange home to some. Mom was Jewish, dad Cajun, grandparents Catholic and Mormon. That is a really strange combination, like you're saying. Yeah. So everybody comes from a little bit of different backgrounds. See, Carrie Parrish, my dad wasn't religious at all. My mother and her side of the family was Church of Christ. Okay. Yeah, and I know you and I have had some conversations. Yeah, Church of Christ is pretty fanatical. I was in the involved with the International Churches of Christ there for a few years, about 20 years ago now. Jeez, has it really been that long? I guess. Yeah, just absolute fanaticism. I got away from that when the one guy was giving me freaking grief over, they had the midweek church group. I missed it the 1 week because, well, I was the coach of my son's baseball team, and we had a game, and so I was coaching my son and his team because I was the coach, and he told me that I needed to get my priorities straight, and I was like, my kids come, even the order that you've designated, because their order was God, spouse, children, church. Kids come ahead of that in the pecking order that you've designated. So I got out of that. Anyways, I didn't want to get into all that. Well, I guess it's kind of going there. Again, went to Episcopal Church in high school. It's because I was dating Father Leaf's son. Oh, wow. Okay. Betty saying, me too, Donna. Favorite place to hide was a public library. Cause the librarian explained so much to me. Cool. All right. Donna Gordon. Yeah. So, you know what I always got teased about as a kid? And I was actually talking about this, I think it was earlier today or maybe it was yesterday. I don't know. That I would read on the bus. from, I don't know why they sent us. Our school is like a 45-minute bus drive away. It was all the way on the other side of town. They finally, long after we moved away, built a school near where we were living. But for a long time, we were shipped all the way on the other side of town. We had this long-ass bus drive. I would read on the bus. So, yeah, I got razzed on a lot for that, for reading on the bus. So, I like to read. So, it was a way to pass the time. So, all right. So, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Yeah, Diane Hilbert, my husband, is very skeptical of the whole paranormal thing. Yeah, that's tough when you have a spouse that's not going. So, all right. Sean Gilmore, thank you, Mike. Happy to be able to call you friend. Absolutely. Yeah, Betty, gosh. Mike sounds like a brother from another mother. I ate books. Yeah, I mean, that's what I... Actually, it was today that I was talking about that. Yeah, because a coworker of mine, she was talking about how her daughter loves to read. Indian, from India, and they had some sort of some book sale that they were having over there. As much as you can fit in this box for, like big box, for like what was the equivalent of $40 US. And I guess her daughter was trying to convince them into getting 2 of these big boxes because she just loves to read. She'll just read. So yeah. Yeah, tease mercilessly back then. Yep, back then, absolutely. They're absolutely brutal. Some of the stuff. So, yep. Some of you are saying good night, and yeah, it's past our hour, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. We kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent here toward the end, which is fine. But I mean, the main point of sharing these first experiences, and I do thank all of you for sharing a lot of your paranormal experiences here tonight, is that to let people that know that you're not alone, that there are other people in this world, a lot of them, that have had these same experiences that you've had. And if you feel like you don't have anybody else in your life to turn to and talk to, we're here. You can reach out to me, you can reach out to Shauna, you can reach out to anybody that's down here in the chat on the Haunted Road Media YouTube channel. You can hit us up on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Haunted Road Media. Just get involved with the conversation. Just, hey, this is who I am. This is my experience. What do you guys think? And we're non-judgmental. We know that all different people from all walks of life have had all kinds of experiences, and we're here for you. So leave a comment below. You can email Haunted Road Media. It's haunted@hauntedroadmedia.com. Like I say, you can leave a comment on the Facebook page, at the Twitter, wherever. We're all here for you. So for those of you that haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do so. Once we hit that 7,000, it's going to happen here pretty soon. We'll go ahead and we'll run another contest. Don't know yet what the giveaway will be, but yeah, definitely. So I think that is about it. Yeah, subscribe and share it out. Be sure to always share out the videos. That's how we get more people involved, and how we continue to grow is when you guys share everything out. So that'll be it. All right, let's go ahead and do some shout outs here. Get down to the Super Chat Superstars. So we have Tom McNicholas and Kathy Ciliento. Thank you both so very much for being Super Chat Superstars this evening. So Donna Gordon, thank you for Cheshire Cat chatting the chat, and taking over for Shauna this evening. So yeah, she was busy day for her with the parade in town and having to work. So I know she was it was all hands on deck at her place of employ tonight. So I know she got slammed. So let's see. I know some already took off. Like I think Bethany Warner said she was taking off. Imani Abdallah, thank you very much for joining us for both shows out from Egypt. I love how we get people from all over the world and down here in chat. It's fantastic. I love it. Get perspectives from people from all over. It's wonderful. So Yes, I am losing my voice. So let's see. All right, the Haglin. Thanks for joining us again tonight. Sean Oldsmith. We'll see. There we go. Australia right there. Chipper Terry, thank you very much. Pamela Rainey, thanks for joining us again. BD Flint, thank you very much. So, yeah, Deep Down the Rabbit Hole Patreon patrons. So let's get into those. Deep Down the Rabbit Hole Patreon patrons. We have Tom McNicholas, Grizz, B3 Aerospace, Zippy Davis, BD Flint, Pamela Queen, Don Francisco. Is that 7? It's supposed to be 7. I think that was it. Yeah. Thank you guys very much. And also thank you to the rest of our Patreon patrons. Really do appreciate all the support. So Discord threads, thank you very much. Have a great night. Spooky Dawn, that's Dawn Francisco right there. Carrie Parrish, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us as always. There's Robert. It says, good night, Mike, and I subscribed. Well, thank you very much, Robert. Really do appreciate that. I love to have new subscribers aboard. There's Chipper Terry. Thank you very much. Lynn's White, thank you. I do appreciate that, as always. And all of those that have been like out there on Twitter, retweeting stuff, sharing stuff out on Facebook, always appreciate it. Thank you so much for that. Kathy Ciliento, thank you. It says, loved hearing about everyone's experiences. You all rock. You are not all crazy. Love you all. Yeah. Susan Zach, thank you again very much. Andrew Cox, thank you as well. Imlabuda61, thank you. Fungi, I know you're out there. You're actually not on my screen, but I know you're out there, so I got to say it. And there's Bethany Warner. Let's see who else we have. I think I already got Katie. There's Betty Lange, thank you very much. GM News, hello. I see the hi up there. Good to see you this evening. And who else do we have? There's Trisha Egley. Thank you, Trisha, for joining us tonight. Sean Gilmore, of course, thank you as well. Candy Orton says, Mike, thank you so much for sharing your experience in history with all of us. I appreciate your truth and dedication to history and exploration. Well, thank you very much, Candy. Really do appreciate that. Yeah, and check out Candy's show on Beyond the Light Network. She's a great hostess. Who else do we have? I'm probably going to scroll back down. We did have a lot of people in chat, and I know it started tailing off there toward the end because it's getting late here in the East. So, and I'm losing my voice. Probably like the last at least 15, 20 minutes of the show, I was about gone. But it happens, you know? Oh, of course, Bonnie Halperin, our other Cheshire Cat. Thanks for joining us. Of course. And I think I got Diane Hilbert. Yeah, and all right. So I think that's going to be it for tonight. Really do appreciate it, everyone. You are absolutely fantastic. Next week, we have Peter Anthony coming back. You guys remember, not Peter Anthony, I'm sorry, Mark Anthony. We've had so many Anthonys, right? We had Peter Anthony here a few weeks back last month. Of course, there's Charles Anthony, Chuck Banks, and Mark Anthony, who we had on I think it was last September, the psychic lawyer. Yeah, so he'll be back here next week. We'll be looking forward to that. Great guy. We had a really interesting conversation with him last time, so look forward to that. And then also look forward to William Stillman's. He goes by Bill, but his name on his books is William, of course. His book will be out here, I'm hoping tomorrow, as long as everything gets straightened out with Amazon. If not, it'll be before the end of the week. So look out for his Conversations with Dogs book. All right, everybody, have a great night. Till next time.